Mr. Marchant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Werfel, in one of your first days on the job, I wrote a letter addressed to you requesting that you find out the status of a group in my district, the North Tarrant County Tea Party. Is it your representation that over the next week or 2 weeks that this organization will receive its determination?
Let me answer that question very carefully since you've named a particular taxpayer, and I have to be very cautious. I will lift up your question and say that all taxpayers that are in our priority backlog, who are in this advocacy group that are in the backlog for more than 120 days, will receive a letter from the IRS this week explaining their option to self-certify and get an expedited approval if they're willing to self-certify.
This particular group joined in a lawsuit with the ACLJ. Will that lawsuit have any effect whatsoever on the determination of that group or any group that's inside of that district?
Two responses. One, I definitively don't want to comment on the lawsuit. Secondly, I'll just repeat my earlier point. If they're in the backlog, they're getting the letter.
So there will be no retribution for a group that joined in that lawsuit?
It would certainly be the policy of the IRS to not have any type of retribution in those situations. So yes, they will receive, if there's an entity, if there is an entity that's in the backlog, it's our intention to send them this letter. And if they don't receive the letter for whatever reason, then they should immediately reach, and they can reach out to you or whatever, or this committee, or reach out to the National Taxpayer Advocate, and we'll look into it. But again, our intention is to try to get every entity within that backlog, to the extent appropriate, a letter.
On February the 11th, subcommittee that I serve on, chaired by Mr. Bustak, wrote the acting commissioner a request to produce a Star Trek parody video that contained no training content and was produced at taxpayer expense. Subcommittee also asked for the cost of the Star Trek video and any other video produced with IRS resources. 2 months later and three letters later, we had the Star Trek video and the cost estimate in hand. Turned out that that video was produced as entertainment for the famous IRS convention that's mentioned. Imagine the committee's surprise when late on Friday, May 31st, I believe after you had taken over, in an effort to get ahead of the TICTA report, expected the following week, the IRS, about the IRS's lavish spending at this conference. It turned out that this video depicting line dancing and of IRS employees was also produced in the 2010 conference. It was wrong for the IRS not to undertake a good faith search in February for other responsive material, but that was not on your watch. When was the second video brought to your attention?
Very early, I mean, obviously very early in my term. I arrived on May 22nd, May 23rd. It was one of the earlier issues that was raised to me in terms of, it was my understanding that this committee had a request for our videos and we were delivering that.
Did you produce it immediately to the committee?
It's my recollection that once I became aware of it and we had it in hand and it was requested by the committee, we provided it. I think there may have been a need to redact some of the names on it to protect personal privacy, but yes, I think we turned that video over to you very quickly.
And did you or others in the IRS directly consult with the Treasury on how to produce that video to Congress?
How to produce it? I'm not aware of us consulting with the Treasury Department on how to produce it, but I necessarily don't understand your question.
Well, let me follow up. The lack of transparency pertains to just a silly video, and being from Texas, very, very bad line dancing. Now, for something really more consequential, Chairman Bustani wrote then Acting Commissioner Stephen Miller on May 10th to ask about all documents containing the word Tea Party and a list of IRS employees involved in the targeting. You wrote back on June 7th. Did you consult with the Treasury on any of the correspondence that you had with the committee before you responded?
I talked generally to the Treasury Department about our correspondence with the committee to make sure I'm giving them an update on the various requests we're receiving and how we're producing information. I don't have a particular recollection that we talked about this letter.
All right.
But in generally, we do talk about discovery requests that we get from Congress.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Black is recognized.